Danny and Chris, I mean, do you feel like we don't do this enough? Trans-Tasman football? It's been a long time coming.
Ain't that the truth? Amen to that statement. It's, yeah, geez, I can't remember the last time, it actually occurred. I think it goes back to probably 2010, just prior to the both sides going off to the World Cup. But yeah, there's something special, obviously, about the chance for us to play against the Aussies. Obviously, with them being in a different confederation now, that makes it quite difficult because their calendar's so full. But it'd be fantastic for the game, particularly in New Zealand, if we could have regular fixtures against the Socceroos and here, home and away. It's pretty special.
Chris, does it matter to you? Like, I know our two countries have got significant sporting history, and in football too, going back 100 years. Yeah, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, 100%. I think that should be done on a more regular occasion. I should be thinking every 4 years there should be a home and away competition or anything like that done, no matter what. So, yeah, it's been way too long since we've played Aussie, and it needs to be a regular thing, definitely, and something that I think we should push forward to make it happen in our calendars, both going forward.
Chris, your nation's caused Australia enough sporting pain the last week as it is. What does it mean to knock off the Socceroos before they head off to the World Cup?
Look, yeah, we're coming here to win the game and do extremely well, both home and away. We think we've got the side capable of doing so. We know Aussie are no mugs. They're a good side. They're in the World Cup for a reason, and they've done extremely well. But we're coming here to cause an upset and win here. So yeah, it'd be nice to get the result tomorrow.
Tony, what about? Sorry, we'll go Tom and then to Murray.
All right. Tony, what are you expecting from Australia? Because Arnie's thrown a whole bunch of debutants in there. He's going to rotate a lot. How do you prepare to take on maybe 4 different teams almost?
Yeah, like it's tough. That's why we've obviously got to focus a little bit on ourselves. We want to bury the demons of what happened in Qatar in June. We felt like the performance was very good. We're a little bit hard done by. So for us, it's a chance to try and bury a little bit of that. But we know that Arnie's brought a pretty big squad together. We're expecting that he'll probably play his strongest 11 here at Suncorp. Obviously, I believe it's the only game that Australia have got at home prior to heading to Qatar for the World Cup. So I'm sure he wants to have a good performance from the side. The players will all be vying for those World Cup positions, so they'll be wanting to put on good performances. So we know it's going to be particularly tough, but like we said, it's an opportunity for us. We don't get the chance to play against good sides often enough. It's a real issue for New Zealand football, so we're super excited about this.
Murray?
Just going back a bit, like just generally, I guess 5 years, I think, almost since you played even at home. It must be frustrating just the lack of football this team's played in general.
It's quite scary, isn't it? So we've really only got going. I've been in the job since sort of late 2019. We had 2 internationals, Ireland, the Republic of Ireland and Lithuania, and then we didn't play again until I think it was October last year. So we've really only got going for the last 12 months. And I think anybody that has watched the team over those 12 months has seen them evolve. We're starting to play a very different brand of football because we've got this exciting young group starting to emerge. We're a particularly young team, but we're really fortunate that we've got some world-class quality players that are leading them. But yeah, it's frustrating being the coach, I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure it's equally as frustrating for players that want to play for their national team.
Yeah.
Are you any more certain? Oh, sorry, you go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
For me, it's extremely frustrating. We should not be missing opportunities or chances to play. Unfortunately, COVID did hit and it put us back a few times. But going forward, this squad needs to be playing consistent football, and we need to make sure we're optimising every window we've got.
Are you any more certain on your future? Like these are the last games you'll coach?
Yeah, look, I haven't spoken to anybody at New Zealand football, so like I said, we're just focusing on these games and then we'll see what happens off the back of that. But look, whether I'm in charge or somebody else is, like Woodsy said, this team needs to be playing every single window and they need to be playing against the best opposition they possibly can because that's the only way they're going to evolve and develop.
Vince again?
Yeah, Chris, one of the new faces in the Aussie squad is Garen Quoll, a player who's been pretty heavily linked to your club, Newcastle. Have you seen much of him? And if you have, on the basis of that, would you like to see him at the club?
Look, I haven't seen him play, I've got to be honest. I've heard a lot about him, especially over the last week or two, with the link to Newcastle. I hear he's an extremely high sought-after talent over here. I'd love to see him in these next couple of games to see what he's like, and I'm sure he's a very exciting talent if a club like us are looking at him, especially with where the club's going to go in the next few years.
Chris, obviously your career overseas is going from strength to strength. Playing in Auckland, are you hoping kind of to show off some of those skills, get people excited, and as you said, try and garner more support for the game?
Look, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to build the game in New Zealand. We can only do that from playing in New Zealand and our performances around the world against high-quality oppositions. It's okay doing it against the island nations and things like that, but we want to do it against the best in the world to make the excitement, the buzz for New Zealanders, for kids growing up in New Zealand. It's something we want to make it into a big national sport. Might never get to the heights of rugby, but we want to get as close as we can to it.
Chris, have you played here before?
I haven't played at Suncorp. I've only played in the game in 2010, back a long time ago.
Do you have much experience in the Queensland team?
No, I don't, but I think Qatar put us in good stead for that, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
Any more from the room before we fly over the ditch? We're just going to go over to New Zealand. In answering, if you can keep looking at the cameras, we're going to send that vision to New Zealand.
So I'll just ask the questions that have been submitted via text. So, Chris, could you just, there's a question from Phil Rollo at Stuff. Could you just say what you've felt about your previous games against Australia, and whether this one feels like it's had more intensity than some of the other fixtures?
Look, yeah, the only fixture I played in was the one back in 2010, pre-World Cup, and that was a very heated match, and it was extremely good to be a part of. We want this more and more, so then this feeling can come around a lot. So, yeah, this game's going to be a good game, a great heated game, I'm sure, but a lot of quality from both sides, so it'll be interesting to see.
And then, obviously, Winston Reid, this is a question from Guy Haveld. Obviously, Winston Reid's announced his international retirement this week. Could you just, both of you, give a word on his impact on football in New Zealand over the past 12, 15 years?
Yeah, look, for me, Winnie's been an inspiration for young Kiwis, as Woodsy has. The level that they have played at and are playing at, I think is, stuff of dreams for any young footballer, particularly when you're down this part of the world and you feel like you're so removed from the hotbed of English or European football. So to see, one of your own doing it on a regular basis is massive. And look, Winnie, I think, particularly over the last 12 months, and probably a little bit longer when we include the Olympics, he's been inspirational inside this young group. He holds a huge amount of mana. Just the way he carries himself, his level of professionalism, both on and off the pitch, I think is something that the young players have really learnt a lot from. So he's been massive for the game, and I only hope, again, irrespective of whether I'm involved or not, that he stays involved in the game longer term. That he's still got so much to offer in terms of the experience he can bring to the fold.
Look, yeah, for me, he's a top bloke, great guy on the pitch, off the pitch. He's done something in New Zealand that has been fantastic to broadcast around the world. The way he inspires young kids and generations to come, which is going to be fantastic. I mean, he's the pinnacle of New Zealand football, trying to get over to England and establish themselves in the Premier League. He's done that, followed in Ryan's footsteps, and then continued it on. And we just want to keep doing that to continue to go for the rest of the careers, futures, young kids coming through.
And how determined are the team to make his final game a really special occasion?
Yeah, look, I know that's going to be a big factor inside the dressing room. When we get to Eden Park, I think it's going to be particularly special for him and for the group, and I think it'll be quite emotional. We haven't spoken too much about it at this stage. I think it's something that's sort of bubbling away under the surface, and probably when we get home to Auckland, there'll be a lot more focus on it. But at the moment, we're obviously you know, worried about trying to do a job here at Suncorp tomorrow and upset the Aussies on their own bit of soil.
Jason Pine has asked, Danny, how will you be managing these two games in terms of personnel? Are you trying to give as many minutes to people as possible? Obviously, people are arriving relatively late for these games. Yeah,
it's tough, and the Aussies probably are in a similar space as well. I know that's probably why Arnie's picked a bigger squad. We would have loved the luxury to have done that. So we're going to have to be really careful in terms of how we juggle the loading of players. Just about every player had significant minutes in Europe over the weekend, and they've obviously had to make the long flight down. So we're just going to have to be a little bit careful about that, and like I said, just look after the players in terms of you know, how they're feeling, how they're physically being able to cope with this. 2 games in a very short space of time with, you know, major flight time is never easy. So yeah, we're going to have to box pretty clever around that.
And just another question from Phil Rollo. Just an injury update. Is everybody available? Looking in the spot.
Yeah, well, we're still yet to have 1 or 2 arrive, which is quite incredible when we're playing tomorrow night. But at this stage, everybody's in really good shape. We've had 2 very light sessions. We'll have another one today. Hopefully, we're allowed out on the turf out there. We got in trouble just before for walking on it, so hopefully they do let us on there this afternoon, and we can get a feel for it. But it looks like a fantastic surface out there.
Question for Chris from Michael Burgess. What does playing in this part of the world mean to you? Obviously, it hasn't been many games back in New Zealand over the last, I think only 3 or so over the last 9 years. So what does it mean to finally be back at home playing games?
Look, it's huge. It's where we want to be playing football. Obviously, we don't get the quality of opposition over in what we can get out here. So we want to be in Europe. We want to be in Asia, trying to play against the best teams in the world. So yeah, it's great to be over this side of the world playing football. As I say, I want to make this a regular occurrence. There should be a regular occurrence every 4 years to play home and away against the Aussies. And yeah, just get as many games at home as possible. High quality games is the best thing for it.
Just a quick follow-up from Phil Rollo. Danny, could you just explain who hasn't arrived yet, or who's late arrived?
So we're yet to have Alex Grieve and Bill Tuoloma arrive. I believe that Andre de Jong arrived overnight, so we're yet to see him emerge from his room.
Cool. And final question from Jason Pine. Has New Zealand Rugby come to the party and sorted your All Blacks tickets for the Saturday night?
No.
Didn't know that was an option. I'll be expecting it now.